for most people, we would call Ted a rancher. Ted's got a degree in what? You want to tell him what your real training is in?
I worked in the aerospace industry for a period of time as a design engineer, and then I went back to school and got a master's in sculpturing, and I taught sculpturing for a couple of years.
So I think of Ted as a rancher, but I think of him more as a landscape sculptor. And even though they run a lot of cattle through here, I think one thing that probably inspires me more than Ted's ability to grow grass, which is a part of the answer, is his ability to, what I would say, is change the way the hydrology functions on this ranch. And I think in this part of the world, that's going to be a huge thing for us. And I think as an agency, we have talked a lot about water quality for so long that we forgot the message about water quantity. And I think in this part of the state, and especially even go west, but even in the eastern part of the state, there was some reservoirs in the last year or so that said that they only had 90 days of water left. And so water is an issue across the whole state of Kansas. And what people at the top of the hill, you know, I think are so important to that, because what water we capture here and make once intermittent streams now perennial flow means so much in how productive this land is, and even what the future holds for the needs for water. And what we have seen, we just kind of happened onto it when Ted started to remove these trees, and it was probably something that we should have expected, but you probably didn't think too much about it, was when these streams started to flow again, it started to change what was happening in the streams. And you wouldn't think as you look into this thing, but I was asking Ted this yesterday. We were down here it's probably been 5 or 6 years ago since we did that workshop here. And we did cross sections through these streams and looked at, you know, the dynamics of it, where the hydrophytic vegetation, where the damp soils were, how far that impact from that stream was reaching out into it. And what we probably hard for us to imagine is what these streams maybe looked like a long time ago. They've been, you know, entrenched, they've been degraded in a lot of different ways, and now the primary course of that stream is limited to a very narrow band, and they weren't like that. But because of now having more water flow in a longer period of time, perennial if you will, now he's got beavers that go clear across the highway. And when beavers come in there, and we walked down to the stream yesterday, which used to be, I would say the first time I was here, you might see it 10 or 12 foot wide. There's a pool down there now that's probably 50 or 60 foot wide. It's got standing water in it. And there's beaver dams all up and down through that, and they've changed the hydrology in that stream corridor. And that's huge. It's just almost unimaginable. And I think the future, that's where the future of what we really got to start talking about. Grazing is a part of it, but managing that plant community to capture everything and to keep it on the ground, or at least underneath it, is where we really got to start communicating better. And was it in this paddock, or was it down closer to Coyote Tree, where you'd grazed it? You thought you made a mistake. In fact,
it was across the road.
And it looked like a moonscape. I mean, the cattle had been in there not for a very long time, but a lot of animals. But then it was rested for 400 and some days, and the recovery in that was just, it'd blow your mind what came back. And again, you know, the kind of species that Ken and Greg will talk to you about that need that kind of environment came back into those areas. The access to streams message has to be this. When people talk about using streams for livestock use, it's not the fact that we use them, it's the duration in which we use it. You know, that short intermittent pulse of use and then recovery can do positive things for a stream. It is that constant use that causes degradation.